Good afternoon, my followers, my friends and family, my van lifers, and my learners. I'm not sure if this topic is appropriate for my van life channel, so I may post it on both my channels. But as you can see, I'm doing some driving. So today I left Coos Bay, and I'm making my way to Bend, Oregon. And interesting. Legislators want to take away your guns. That was the sign I just read. Anyways, so I'm an educator. If you've been watching my videos, and if you know me, you know that I'm an educator. I spent about 7 or 8 years in South Korea, China, and Saudi Arabia, teaching English, a little music, a little science, a little, mostly English, but with a philosophical bend. And anyways, so one of my great passions is how to learn and how to learn effectively. Because I love learning, I love reading, I love acting to learn. And so a book that I just rebranded, and I published it almost 2 years ago now, but that I rebranded is Path to Higher Intelligence. And so you can find that book at levijohnson.com, as well as my other book and audiobook. And so I wrote that book on Path to Higher Intelligence, which is a book on how to become more intelligent in any area of your life. So that could be IQ, EQ, in any particular area where you want to become more intelligent. But it dawned on me just a little while ago that intelligence, and I kind of sensed this already somewhat, but it became more obvious to me just a little while ago that intelligence is the byproduct of effective learning. And so what is learning? As a teacher, I have defined learning as learning is action. And so why is learning action? One of the questions I asked in an academic writing course that I was teaching to graduate students in Beijing, China, was I asked them, is learning getting new information, or is learning getting new information? And the answer to that effectively is no. And why is that? Because we have knowledge that is in some sense theoretical. And when I say theoretical, I mean it hasn't been applied yet. And then we have knowledge that's been applied. And so the difference between the two is that applied knowledge, in other words, knowledge that has been applied, has a greater dimensional depth. And so if I read let's say I read a book, for instance, that's a linguistic knowledge that I get, whatever the material might be. It might be on aircraft mechanics or plumbing or theoretical physics or history or science or gender studies, whatever it might be. When I get knowledge that way, so if it's like I read a book or I listen to a preacher preach a message, or I have a conversation with a friend, I get that linguistically and then perhaps also relationally. If I have an interaction with a friend and I learn something that way. So I get the knowledge. But if I have not acted in that domain yet, then that remains at kind of a surface level. Kind of like if somebody plants an acorn to grow an oak tree. The knowledge has been planted, but it hasn't been rooted in. And so when we act, so the reason I say learning is action is because when I act to apply the knowledge I've acquired through books or interacting with a person, I find out the intuitive or psychosocial kinesthetic dimensionality of that knowledge. And so, for instance, like one example that I could use for that is some years ago now, probably 3 or 4 years ago now, I read a book called Boundaries by Henry McLeod and John Townsend. And so the book talked to me about what boundaries were, and boundaries are what separate me from other people. Or put another way, as they would put it, keeping the bad out and letting the good in terms of relationships. And so I read it, and I had some idea of what they were talking about, but I had yet to fully apply it yet. And so I needed to, so remember, learning is action. So one day, I was hanging out, it was either before or after church, at this church in Beijing. And somebody in the church, there was some food available, and one of them was kind of like this Chinese porridge. And it did not look appetizing to me, I didn't want to eat it. And so this guy I was talking to offered me some, and I gently, but firmly said something like no or no thank you. And so they said, oh, come on, you should try it. And so they got a cup and they served some into the cup and tried to hand it to me. And I just very kindly just looked at them with a smile, and not condescending or anything like that, but just like, and I did not accept the cup of Chinese porridge, and so there were 2 stages, you could say, in my action. One was having the knowledge, in other words, the ability to say no, and then there was the action, actually saying no or asserting my boundary. And so when I did that, it took the acorn of knowledge and it grew roots much deeper. And then as a teacher, I have many, so that's one example. And then as a teacher, like there were many times when students would not get a grade that they wanted, and they would try to make it my problem, and try to get me to fix their lack of investment into their grade. And I would say, well, I'm really sad that you didn't get the grade you wanted, but was that my responsibility or your responsibility to do the work to get the grade? And when they were honest, they would accept responsibility for the grade that they had earned. And so that was another way I acted. And as I acted more and more to apply the knowledge of boundaries, then those roots grew deeper and deeper. And so it became clear, not only mentally, but also emotionally and kinesthetically, and as well spiritually, that learning is action. It's not just the knowledge, it's the applied knowledge. And so in this context, intelligence is the byproduct of learning is action. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video today. Please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.